All right, so as promised, we have 2.5, which is more story problems, but again, we're not quite to the scary story problems. That's going to start in the next section, 2.6. So all of these story problems we're going to do by using a formula. So here are some formulas that you should know. The area, and this, by the way, is the area of a square or a rectangle, is length times width. This is interest equals principal times rate times time. You should have worked with these formulas before. This one is perimeter. Perimeter just means you add all the sides. So we could be talking about the perimeter of a triangle here. If it's a perimeter of something with 8 sides, there would be A plus B plus C plus D plus E all the way out to 8 different variables. So basically just add the sides. Here's a big one. Distance equals rate times time. Volume equals length times width times height. So that's the volume of a rectangular prism, which is basically just a box. And here's an interesting one. Now, I'll be honest with you. This one, if you don't have to memorize this one, you really don't have to know it. This is changing from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So if you want to find the Fahrenheit from the Celsius, you just take and you plug it in. So 9/5 times the Celsius plus 32 will give you the temperature. Okay, so we're going to use a couple of those formulas in these problems. So here we go. I'm already noticing a typo in example 1, and it's driving me nuts because I can't believe I did it. A family drives from Cincinnati, Ohio to Rapid City, South Dakota, a distance of 1,180 miles. So we probably already know which one of the formulas we're going to use. There, look at this. This is the wrong there. What am I thinking? It's T-H-E-I-R. Their average speed is 50 miles an hour. Rate is the same thing as speed. How much time do they spend driving? So we have distance is equal to rate times time. Let's plug in what we know. We know the distance is 1,180 miles is equal to, we know their rate is 50 miles an hour. Do we know their time? No, we don't. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to put multiplied by t. So when you have a formula to work with, it's nice because it's literally plug and chug. Now, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to get the t alone? I'm going to divide both sides by 50. So my t is going to be equal to, I'm going to use my calculator over here, and 1180 divided by 50 is 23.6. So if they only drove 50 miles an hour, what did I just find? Well, I found t, and what is that? That's time. So they drove for 23.6 miles. That's a long time to be driving a car. They need to go faster, just between you and me. Okay. So again, when you have a formula to plug things into, it's really, really nice when you're solving equations. Let's look at number 2. So a wood deck is being built behind a house. The width of the deck is 14 feet. If there's 168 square feet of decking material, find the length of the deck. Which formula do you think we're looking at? Well, we're going to be looking at area equals length times width. Let's plug in what we know. We know that there's an area of 168 square feet. We know the width of the deck is 14, and we're looking for the length. So it's going to be L times 14. Well, how do I solve for L? I'm going to divide both sides by 14. Those 14s are going to cancel, and I'm going to get L is, I'm going to use my calculator, L is 12. So, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the length of the deck. I just found it. So the length is 12 feet. let's look at number 3. Convert the temperature of 5 degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Can you tell what formula to use? Fahrenheit is equal to 9/5 C plus 32. So we are given 5 degrees Celsius and we're looking for Fahrenheit. So Fahrenheit is equal to 9/5 times 5 plus 32. So there's really no solving to do here. It's just arithmetic. So 9/5 times 5, well, if I put that 5 over 1, those are going to cancel, and I'm left with 9 plus 32, which I get 41. So the temperature is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, last story problem, but then we do have a few problems left on the next side here. So the length of a rectangle is 1 meter more than 4 times the width. Find the dimensions if the perimeter is 52. So this seems like we're going to be drawing a picture here. So it says the length of the rectangle is 1 more than 4 times the width. So we're going to call the width W. What would the length be? It's 1 more than 4 times this. So that's 1 plus 4W. So we have defined our variable there. Find the dimensions. So in other words, find the length and the width if the perimeter is 52. Well, let's remember what perimeter means. Perimeter means you add all of the sides. All of the sides. So we have to make sure that we remember that this is W and this is also 1 plus 4W. I need to add all of the sides. And that whole perimeter is equal to 52. I have lots of like terms to combine. I have 1 plus 4 is 5. I have a total of 10W plus 2 is equal to 52. Go ahead and solve. At some point when you solve, you should get W is equal to 5. So what did I just find? I found W, which represented the width. It asked me to find the dimensions. So the dimensions are 5, what is it, meters by, now what is this one going to be? That's the width. How about the length? Well, I need to plug it in. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21 meters. And there's that story problem. Okay, so the second half of these notes are again working with some formulas that you may know, just regular old equations, but we're going to be using our solving skills, and we are going to take a formula or an equation and we are going to solve it for a specific variable. We're going to use all of those steps that I typed out for you to solve equations when we're doing this. So for example, C equals 2 pi r. If you don't know, that happens to be the formula for circumference of a circle, which is kind of irrelevant at this point. It doesn't matter that you know what that is. The key is it says that we want to take this equation and we want to solve it for r. In other words, we want to get r alone on one side. So we have to go back. There are no fractions. There's no like terms to combine. There's nothing to be added or subtracted. What's happening with these three things, the 2, the pi, and the r? They're all being multiplied. How do I undo that multiplication? I need to divide both sides by what I don't want. And what I don't want on that right-hand side is 2 pi. Because look on the right-hand side, the 2's will cancel, the pi's will cancel. So I'm left with simply r is equal to c over 2 pi. And that's all they want you to do. So your answers aren't going to be r equals 10 or r equals -3. The answers are going to have all the same parts that your original equation did. They won't be pretty. So let's look at B. We want to take and we want to solve this equation for x. So we want to get the x alone on one side. Well, the first thing we would have to do, because remember what our steps said, there's no like terms to combine. So you first use your addition property to try to get the x alone. So what's being subtracted here? 7. So we are going to add 7 to both sides of my equal sign. Now on the left, those are not like terms. I can't literally combine them. I'm going to have y plus 7. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to have 3 times x. So now again, I'm going to try to get the x alone. Well, what do? These are being multiplied, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide both sides of my equal sign by 3. Y plus 7 over 3, you cannot simplify it anymore. And on the right-hand side, you can see that the 3's will cancel, and you're going to be left with x. So our answer is x equals y plus 7 over 3. Let's look at C. What do we want to get alone? We want to get this A alone. So the first thing I have to do is get the 2A alone so I can divide by 2. How am I going to get the 2A alone? Well, let's first get rid of this minus C. How am I going to get rid of that? I'm going to add C to both sides of my equal sign. So I would get P plus C equals 2A plus B. Now I want to get rid of the b. How do I get rid of adding b? I'm going to subtract b. So p plus c minus b is equal to 2a. So at least I have the term alone, the 2a alone on one side. Now how do I get the a alone? Well, I'm going to do the opposite of multiplying by 2. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide both sides of my equal sign by 2. So p plus c minus b over 2 is going to be equal to, the 2's cancel, that's equal to a. Crazy answer, isn't it? All right, last one. Now we want to solve for y. So we want to get the y alone. So notice for this one, you've got a fraction. You've got that 3. Let's eliminate that fraction by multiplying everything through by 3. So 3 times x. 3 times 2/3 y plus 3 times 10. So we're eliminating the fraction. So that's going to give me 3x equals, now this 3 is over 1, so those are going to cancel. That leaves me with 2y plus 3 times 10 is 30. So at least I don't have fractions anymore. So now I need to isolate the y. Let's get it alone. Well, let's get the term with the y alone first. That's the 2y. So how do I get rid of adding 30? I'm going to subtract 30. These are not like terms. Don't combine them. This is simply going to be 3x minus 30 equals 2y, because those cancel out. And last but not least, what do I have to do here? Well, I need to get the y alone. Right now it's being multiplied by 2, so I need to divide by 2. So I'm going to get 3x minus 30 all over 2. That does not simplify, and that is going to be equal to y. And that's the end of 2-5.